country of only 10 million people, Portugal has had an outsized influence on the global game of soccer. But they are the new kids on the block. They only ever qualified for 2 World Cups before 2002, and they won their first international trophy in 2016. This team has the highest odds to bring a new name to the winner's circle of the World Cup in 2026. Welcome to Kickback Soccer Media's World Cup Capsules, where you'll learn everything you need to know about all 48 of the national teams competing at the 2026 World Cup. From the history of the game, the nation's current World Cup trajectory, unsung heroes, and cultural moments. I'm David Goss, and today we're talking about Portugal.
At the moment, there is this belief, even within a very cynical population, that Portugal is one of the sharks when it comes to the international game.
That's Eric Krakauer. Born and raised in Portugal, he now works as a soccer commentator in the United States. Like Krakauer said, Portugal are no longer the minnows of the game. They are the sharks, and they need to make cutthroat decisions that could lead to their first ever World Cup trophy. Like most of Western Europe, soccer started in Portugal in the late 1800s. It was a mixture of English merchants and Portuguese students arriving back from studying in England who brought the game. Soccer has roots in Portugal dating back to 1875 in various cities such as Lisbon, Porto, and Coimbra. Multiple citywide and regional competitions were happening throughout the country, but the first official competition, the Taça de Portugal, the Portuguese Cup, started in 1922. A little over a decade later, the Primeira Liga was founded in 1934. Portugal used its many colonies early on to field players in their national team and club sides. The popularity of soccer was therefore passed on to the colonies, and in turn, many became fans of Portuguese soccer, especially across Africa. But the bigger story of football in Portugal can be told through 3 players: Eusebio, Luis Figo, and Cristiano Ronaldo. Eusebio is nicknamed the Black Panther or the Black Pearl, or just Ore, the King. He's considered one of the greatest players of all time, as well as Benfica's greatest ever. He was known for his speed, technique, athleticism, and right-footed shot, making him a prolific goal scorer. Eusebio helped Portugal reach 3rd place at the 1966 World Cup, being the top goal scorer of the tournament with 9 goals. He remains Portugal's all-time top scorer at a World Cup with 9 goals in just those 6 appearances, although Ronaldo has 8, so we'll see if that holds past this summer. He won the Ballon d'Or in 1965 and was runner-up in 1962 and 66. He is Benfica's all-time top scorer with 473 goals in 440 competitive matches. From his retirement until his death in 2014, Eusebio was an ambassador of the game and was one of the most recognizable faces of his generation and of the sport. He is followed on the greatness list by Luis Figo, known as one of the best wingers of his generation, known for his pace, dribbling, and of course his powerful shot. He was a member of the Galacticos of Real Madrid and excelled with Sporting, Barcelona, and Inter Milan. He's the face of Portugal's golden generation of the 90s and early 2000s. He led Portugal to a U20 World Cup win in 1991 and helped them reach the final at Euro 2004. He also won the Ballon d'Or in 2000. But maybe people thought Figo was going to be the peak of Portuguese soccer, but he was immediately followed up by an even bigger name. Cristiano Ronaldo is considered one of the greatest of all time. Goal-scoring phenom, an icon that transcends the sport. Known for his dribbling, goal-scoring ability, and marketability, Ronaldo embodies hard work and a winning mentality. He's won 5 Ballon d'Ors, 5 Champions League, and almost every other award you can imagine. The influence of these 3 players is immeasurable, representing successful periods in the country's history. What's even more important or symbolic is the fact that these 3 individuals have all won the Ballon d'Or, an incredible feat for a country with a population of only 10 million. The closest comparison is the Netherlands, who also have 3 Ballon d'Or winners. They have almost double the population with 18 million. While other countries that boast more than 3 winners are countries like Germany, France, Spain, and Brazil that have 4 or 5 times the population of Portugal. So to have a country with a population of only 10 million people produce 3 of the best players in history is incredible, and it says a lot about the place of the game in Portugal and Portugal's play within world soccer. But in the past, population meant there wasn't always the team around these stars to lift them to the highest levels of success. But in the 2000s, that finally changed. You can see this change most clearly in the greatest footballing moment in their history, Euro 2016, where Portugal defeated France 1-0 in extra time to win its first major title. It was a campaign that was more pragmatic than pretty, with manager Fernando Santos instilling a defensive attrition-style approach that took them past Croatia, Poland, and Wales before meeting host France, where their star, Cristiano Ronaldo, was sidelined with injury, but an unlikely hero stole the spotlight.
Eder, who wasn't expected to be on that team, who nobody expected to come off the bench. In fact, people were upset that he was included in the 23-man squad, but he scores the goal that leads to the most important trophy in the history of Portuguese football.
But after that great moment in 2016, the face of the team in every moment has been Cristiano Ronaldo. But according to Eric, this team is stacked and ready to step out of the legend's shadows.
There was no doubt Cristiano Ronaldo was the star, and all the other players, they've usually been described as Cristiano Ronaldo's supporting cast. That's no longer the case. I think this is possibly the best group of players Portugal have ever developed or produced. You know, everybody harkens back to the golden generation. Well, this generation may be even more golden, because not only do you have the depth of roster, that you have individuals peppered all around Europe who are the best players on their teams. Players who are used to success and players who come into this team with very high expectations for that team.
But with a player with a shadow and legacy as big as Ronaldo, transitioning away from him will not be easy. He'll be 41 next summer and has already said that it would be his last World Cup. But opinion remains divided about how big of a role he should play in the team.
So that is a very divisive topic in Portugal. There is a debt of gratitude that you feel among all Portuguese for what Cristiano Ronaldo was able to do with the national team and for the country as a whole. The debt of gratitude is so large and so significant, the national team owe Cristiano Ronaldo a place in the starting 11 for everything that he has done. The other side of the argument is this is where he is brought us to. We are no longer little fish. Portugal now, because they are the sharks, they need to make cutthroat decisions about getting results. And there is a school of belief that really is dead set on the idea that Portugal as a collective is much better without Cristiano Ronaldo in the starting lineup.
Most of that decision-making burden will fall to manager Roberto Martínez, another polarizing individual within Portugal. In case you haven't gotten it, Portuguese fans have a lot of opinions.
Well, let me start by saying that he was not a popular hire. He's Spanish. There's a rivalry with the Spaniards. And there's the sentiment that Portugal develops a lot of good coaches and that the Portuguese national team should be led by a Portuguese coach. That aside, I think that when Roberto Martínez comes in, there is a shift in the playing style that the Portuguese like. Even though people like the fluency or fluidity of his soccer, some of his decisions have been head scratchers, like playing João Neves, who was a starting center midfielder for PSG as they win the Champions League, as a right back. There is also the baggage that he carries from Belgium, where the perception is he really let down their golden generation. Now, I have mixed feelings about that. He did make it to a World Cup semifinal, and it's not like winning these tournaments is easy.
For young players to watch, there might not be a country that has more options than Portugal, but two big names stand out. For me, João Neves, 21-year-old box-to-box midfielder for PSG who's already making his name as one of the best at his position in the world. He's quick, agile, but he's so technically gifted. Great passing range, tackling ability as well, and his ability in close quarters is elite. He's got 20 caps and 3 goals already for Portugal, but this World Cup could be a breakout for him. But the next in the line of superstar wingers is 18-year-old Giovanni Quenda.
There is a clamoring for this kid to be a part of the Portuguese national team, and he has been. And to Martinez's credit, he is captain, but he's reluctant to include him regularly in the national team squad. Now, I think he's going to make the World Cup. If he doesn't make the World Cup squad, I think there will be hell to pay and there will be protests in the street because this kid is one of the best dribblers you will see. He loves taking players one-on-one, and he's hugely successful, and he doesn't play like a 16, 17, or 18-year-old. He plays like a kid who is very confident in his abilities, and he harkens back to those wingers that we love in Portugal.
Despite having such a legacy of Portuguese icons, there are also several unsung heroes who have left an influence on the game in Portugal.
The player I really want to talk about is one that not enough people know about outside of Europe, and that is Paulo Futre. Paulo Futre was a huge star. He was a winger, came through the Sporting Academy. He left for Porto because they wouldn't give him the contract that he wanted. Paulo Futre goes to Porto, wins a couple of titles, and wins the European Championship in 1987 against Bayern Munich, against a loaded Bayern Munich. He goes to Atletico Madrid, where he became a household name and a huge star, wins a Copa del Rey there. When you see Messi videos, sometimes on social media, you'll see a video of Paulo Futre and the caption will read like this: before Messi, there was Paulo Futre. And the reason he didn't go on to be a bigger star was because he was just hampered by injuries. 3 ACL injuries, if I'm not mistaken. And in the 80s and the 90s, just one could be a career ender. So Paulo Futre is a guy that I think everybody should look into. Just a majestic talent, and would probably be considered at the same level as Luis Figo and Rui Costa, were it not for all those injuries that he suffered.
Portugal is a country that lives and breathes the game of soccer.
It means everything. It rivals the church for Sunday supremacy. There are 3 daily soccer newspapers, and when I'm in Portugal, I buy all 3 every day. And the cultural thing to do is you get your newspaper, you sit down at the cafe, you drink your bica, your espresso, you talk to people, and you read the newspaper. That's one of the great experiences of being a Portuguese soccer fan. You get to forget about the rest of the world for a good half hour, and you're having good coffee. Maybe you can have a bagaço, or you're having a nice alcoholic drink. That's living, in my opinion.
To add into the mix of all that passion, there's the club angle. There are 3 massive clubs in the country: Benfica, Sporting, and Porto. They've won 89 of the 91 league titles, and the rivalry between all 3 teams, whether it's the Lisbon derby between Benfica and Sporting or El Clásico between Benfica and Porto, is stuff of legends. These clubs and their fans compete for everything from youth production to European success, and it bleeds out in almost every conversation, which was evident when I talked with Eric, who is a Sporting supporter.
You know, there's a lot of clubism, as they call it in Portugal. You know, if Sporting wins, it's because there's corruption. If Benfica wins, it's because it's corruption. And Porto, and by the way, there has been a lot of corruption in Portuguese soccer.
But only when Porto and Benfica win, right?
Well, I have to say that those 2 clubs have been more closely publicly associated with corruption, but take that with a grain of salt considering the team.
Listen, there's no better way for us to give our listeners an example than you actually doing the thing.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I don't like clubismo. I actually root for Porto and Benfica in Europe, which some of my diehard Sporting fans find sacrilegious. But I do it for the good of Portuguese football, because the better Portuguese teams do, the league gets more exposure, so on and so forth, better players, and all that good stuff.
So Portugal was drawn into Group K with Colombia, Uzbekistan, and a yet-to-be-determined playoff team. With the talent they have and the potential path, I could see quarterfinals, potentially even semifinals in their sight. But it might come down to the involvement or lack thereof of the 41-year-old Ronaldo up top. This team plays more cohesive. They're able to cover more ground. They're able to press higher and dictate the game even better without the legend on the field. But it is going to take a lot, as we said, to get him off. This is one of the must-watch teams at the World Cup. 1, because as I said at the top, they have a chance to break through as the next new country to win a World Cup. And 2, because I love the way Portuguese soccer is. There's flair, there's individual creativity, but all of it is such a high technical level and so well connected. And the hope is that Roberto Martínez can continue to push this team closer to the way a Porto, Benfica, or Sporting plays than what Fernando Santos had them playing, even with their success. We always love to leave you with a fun fact on these shows, and with Portugal, it is their history. The oldest nation state in Europe, with their borders established in 1139, they've largely been unchanged since 1297. And I have to say, I've been on trips to Portugal 4 times in my life. I think it is one of the best places to go. The people are friendly, the food is incredible, the history is phenomenal, the sights, whether it's the nature or the architecture or the modern buildings, are absolutely beautiful. It is must go, and if you're a soccer fan, you can always stumble into a game, whether it's up in Porto, down in the Lisbon area, or I've even been to a game on the Algarve on the beach at Porta Maiense. So thank you all of you for listening. If you enjoyed this show, we have one of these episodes at Kickback 26 for every single nation. So go listen to the podcast, share them with friends if you think they'd like them. Please rate and review us so other people can find our show. And thank you so much for listening.